Question for Jose and for Mark. Jose, Mark made it clear after his last victory that you have never faced a striker of his caliber, his speed, his precision. What do you have to say to that?
Isso faz parte, eu acho que não tem problema algum se ele falou isso ou não, pra mim não muda. Eu acho que eu faço meu treinamento no Brasil, isso que é importante, eu vou focado na luta, não importa o que o adversário fala, se eu já lutei com alguém melhor ou pior, pra mim todos que eu já enfrentei na minha carreira sempre foram bons e ótimos lutadores.
You know, that's all part of the game, whatever he's going to say before the fight. It all comes down to the training I do in Brazil. I think all my opponents have been very tough, and he's going to be no different.
Mark, for yourself, I mean, talking back to our days in Montreal and the Verdun Arena and then Gatineau, and finally you're now going to be fighting on Ontario soil, but it's going to be 42,000 people. You're in the co-main event, fighting a guy who is arguably top 3 pound for pound in the sport. How do you plan on dealing with all of this pressure?
You know what, this is the dream I've been thinking about since I've been 13 years old. You know, like this is my passion, this sport. Since I've been 13 years old, every morning I've woken up thinking about training, about the sport, about getting better, and every night I went to bed thinking the same thoughts. You know, this is the culmination of 10 years as a pro, and I'm ready to do it on April 30th.
Julia Burkay News. First, a question for Mark. Mark, how exciting is it for you to perform here, knowing that London and Thamesville are just down the road?
Tempsford.
Tempsford, sorry.
No, it's
Not too far from
like I
here.
said, this is a dream come true. But I'm starting to realize I have a lot of third cousins, a lot of old friends who I went to kindergarten with, who I haven't talked to since kindergarten, wanted front row tickets. So, but no, this is a great opportunity, and to be able to be showcased in the co-main event, like I said, this is a dream come true, and I'm ready to do it.
And Dana, how significant is it to have this match coming up in April here in Toronto? Go over that for us once again.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. Finally, you know, I always say Canada's the mecca of mixed martial arts. It's unbelievable how fast it's taken off here, how big it is here, and how much talent comes out of Canada. And, you know, to finally be here, and the people, you know, we've been all over Canada putting on fights over the last several years, and the people from Ontario were screaming for this. We're finally here, and to have, you know, 2 guys from Canada, you know, competing for titles, it's awesome.
Finally, I heard somewhere women represent 40% of the folks who are coming out, the demographic watching.
Yes.
What do you know about that? What's driving the popularity there?
That actually surprised me more than how big it became in Canada. You know, when we bought this company, it was a no-brainer. Males 18 to 34, and we never saw the female side of this thing. It's so big with women too. In Vegas, you know, Fox did this study on it once. Girls taking girls trips to Vegas for UFC fights. So yeah, we have a lot of female fans.
Cal McGregor, MMA Ontario. I'm just curious, Jake has expressed interest in fighting Anderson Silva potentially in the future. If Jake were to pull off a victory against George St. Pierre, is that something that you would consider?
Well, Jake has definitely, you know, like we said, he's been on this run, and he's fought at 185 pounds too, and been dominant there. But the thing is, the reason this Anderson Silva-George St. Pierre fight makes so much sense is because these two have consistently been fighting in the UFC. This is more of a legacy super fight. You know, people argue over who's the pound for pound best in the world. Is it GSP? Is it Anderson Silva? And both guys will, if he beats Jake Shields, he just beat Vitor. They've cleaned out an entire division over the last several years, and the fight makes sense. It's like the pound for pound championship.
And also for George, I recently got a chance to talk to Jake. I asked him regarding your dominant wrestling, what he would do to counteract that. He said he's going to hunt for submission after submission, and you're going to be busy. So what's your comments on that?
Jake is a different guy. He's different than all the guys that I've fought recently, and I think I'm different than all the guys that Jake has fought differently. In a way that Jake has different tools, he's dangerous in a different ways, and I'm dangerous in a different ways. Guy that I've fought Jake Shield before, they only tried to keep the fight standing up. They were too worried about the ground. Jake doesn't know what I'm gonna do to him. I can go with strike, or I can go with a takedown and ground and pound and go for a submission. You know, that's the thing that makes me dangerous, and Jake is very dangerous as well for me, because he's been working very hard on his Muay Thai, so he's gonna try to knock me out standing up, and he's gonna try to submit me on the floor. So he's the kind of guy that he doesn't have only one big weapon. He's very well-rounded, and plus he's a very clever fighter. That's what makes him the most dangerous. He's a clever guy. You have a lot of guys who are dangerous in the sport, but they're not clever. They're not, they go there and they try to rumble. And he's not that kind of guy. He's very clever. So that's why he's very dangerous for me.
Hi, Rudy Blair, 680 News again. This question goes to first Tom. Tom, how difficult was it to pick the Canadian fighters for this card, especially because you have so many great Canadians? And my second question goes to George and for Jake. Most fights seem to sometimes go on emotion. This seems to be more on skill. Do you agree or disagree with that? First Tom.
Rudy, the easy answer is, the quick answer is that it was really quite easy because I just left that up to Dana and to Joe Silva. They were the guys that made the call on the Canadian fighters. And speaking of Canadian fighters, we've got Sean Pearson and Claude Patrick here in the front row, two other great Canadian fighters, and we have been really fortunate in our country. Dana said it many times, as much as this country is a mecca for our sport and for our fans, it's also a mecca for great fighters like Mark and like George St. Pierre.
I think this fight will mostly be based off skill, but I mean, there's going to be some emotion as well. When you got 40, 50,000 fans screaming and yelling, it's impossible to hold the emotion out. But yeah, I think we're definitely fighters that try to use our heads and skill.
Yeah, for me, I fight with emotion, but I don't fight with anger. When you fight with the anger, like people says, your last fight, Josh Koscheck, he tried to make you angry. I wasn't, I could be angry, but I'm not gonna fight with anger, because when you fight like this, you commit yourself, you make mistake, So I'm gonna fight with emotion, but of course I'm gonna have what you call in English the goosebump, like I'm gonna be nervous and everything with the emotion. I'm a proud guy, I want to win, but I'm not gonna go out there and it's a skills, it's a fight.
Hi guys, it's Mark Herbert from Metro News. Two questions for George and for Jay. George, this fight's coming, I guess, at a shorter leave than your typical fights as far as the preparation. How has that changed with such a short day between fights? And for Jake, your fight is a little longer than George's layoff. What is your preparation like going forward for this fight?
For me, preparations, pretty much I'm always training. I train year round. I think most of the top fighters nowadays don't take time off, so I might train a little lighter for a month here or there, but I've pretty much been training nonstop since camp, and especially my weight was so heavy, so I wanted to get my weight down, so I got that down, and then I've just been training, trying to pick up new skills and constantly trying to get better, GSP's probably my toughest fight ever, so I'm trying to do everything I can to be ready.
Yeah, for me, I'm training all the time. I consider myself a martial artist because I'm not training because I have a fight coming up. I'm training because it's my lifestyle. And after Koscheck, I took maybe a Sunday off. Then I was training a little bit. I'm not gonna say I was training just as hard as I'm training when I get ready for a fight, but with the same intensity. But I always train. Try to get better. My mentality is when I go in bed at night, I know I'm a better martial artist than when I wake up in the morning. And that's what I do every day.